Happy birthday, or maybe not. What happens if you want to change the date on your birth certificate? Can you do that? Well, that takes us to this week's case. It involves a real man from Minnesota. And he petitioned the courts in Minnesota to change the date on his birth certificate. Now, he did this using an anonymous name. He came in as a John Doe. And you can do this. You can do this in court pleadings if you just want to maintain your own privacy. Well, he came in and he petitioned the court for a change in his birth certificate, not because there was anything wrong on the actual date, it was correct, but because he said as a young person, he was suffering from mental illness, he was suffering an emotional disease, obsessive compulsive tendency, which he said prevented him from developing emotionally. And when he failed to develop emotionally, he said after he had graduated from school and he went to Stanford University, graduated, and everything's fine except for the fact, he said, I'm at a big disconnect. I can't really connect with other people of my same chronological age because I am emotionally immature. I just didn't have all of the kinds of experiences that allow you to develop emotional maturity as a young person. So as a result of that, I would like to have an age that more closely reflects what my emotional age is, and he petitioned the court. His attorneys argued on his behalf that, here in Minnesota, when somebody is a transgender individual and they change their gender from male to female, from female to male, that the birth certificate can be altered, and that's allowed. We view this as something very similar to that, and for that reason, we think it should be allowed. Well, on behalf of the Department of Health in Minnesota, the department argued that no, we can't let this happen because as the record keepers here in Minnesota, we are concerned that there will be all kinds of fraud and misrepresentation if people can come in, change their birth certificate, because law enforcement is heavily dependent upon the actual chronological age of somebody when they're engaged in crime investigation. Therefore, because of the risk of fraud and misrepresentation, we think it should not be done. Okay, went to a trial court. Trial court looked at this and said, you're right. You're right. There are too many issues which can arise, in this case of first impression, if we allow somebody to arbitrarily change the date on their birth certificate when there's nothing wrong with the date, and accordingly we deny the petition. Went up on appeal, and on appeal, the appellate court in the state of Minnesota again looked at this, heard the same arguments, and came away saying, trial court, you're right. We can't let this happen. There is too much risk of fraud and misrepresentation when people can change the dates on their birth certificate, and accordingly, it will not happen. Well, the attorneys for this man, who remains unidentified, said this didn't come as any surprise to us, and we'd counseled our client that this might get to be the result. But anyway, that's where we are. We gave it our good shot. Whether or not he continues to appeal it up to the Supreme Court for the state of Minnesota remains to be seen, but at this point in time, the courts, at least at 2 times around at the trial court and at the appellate level, have said, can't do it, can't change your birth certificate date if you just want to do it for the heck of it. All right, we bring you this case as we bring cases every week so you understand how the law works. I'm David Allen.